The stars looked different now. Captain Daniel Cross stood on the bridge of the Liberty's Edge and watched the endless black space through the main window. His ship had traveled farther from Earth than any human vessel before. They had been exploring for 3 months, mapping new star systems and searching for signs of alien life. Today they found it. The alert system started beeping at 0600 hours. Lieutenant Kevin Bryant rushed to his station and checked the sensors. His face went pale. Daniel walked over and looked at the screen. There were 15 ships approaching their position. They were not human ships. "Sir, they just appeared out of nowhere," Kevin said. His hands moved fast across the control panel. "Their technology is different from ours. Much different." Daniel felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with alien life. But 15 warships did not look like a friendly greeting. "Open all communication channels," Daniel ordered. "Let them know we come in peace." The alien ships moved closer. They were huge, at least 3 times larger than the Liberty's Edge. Their hulls were dark purple and covered with strange symbols that glowed with blue light. The ships formed a circle around the human vessel, blocking any escape route. A message came through. The translation software worked hard to make sense of the alien language. After a few seconds, words appeared on the screen, and a voice spoke through the speakers. It sounded cold and mechanical. "Human vessel, you will follow us. Do not resist. Your weapons are disabled." Kevin checked his systems and cursed under his breath. "Captain, they are right. All our defensive systems just went offline. I do not know how they did it." Daniel had no choice. He ordered his crew to follow the alien ships. They traveled for 2 days through space at speeds the Liberty's Edge could barely match. Finally, they arrived at a massive structure floating near a neutron star. The station was bigger than Earth's moon. Hundreds of ships from different designs moved around it, like insects around a hive. The Liberty's Edge was pulled into a docking bay by some kind of tractor beam. Daniel, Kevin, and Ambassador Linda Morrison prepared to meet whoever was waiting for them. Linda was a veteran diplomat who had solved conflicts on Mars and the outer colonies, but even she looked nervous. "Remember," Linda said as they walked down the exit ramp, "we represent all of humanity now. Stay calm no matter what happens." The docking bay was enormous. The ceiling stretched so high above them that clouds formed near the top. Aliens of different shapes and sizes moved through the space. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated in the air. Some looked like giant insects. A few were just balls of light that moved through the air without any visible body. A group of 6 aliens approached them. The one in front was tall and thin, with skin that looked like red metal. It had 4 arms and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on its face. When it spoke, its voice came from a device attached to its chest, rather than from any mouth. "I am Commander Vexor of the Vorathian Collective. You will come with us. The Galactic Council wishes to see you." They followed Vexor through long corridors filled with more aliens. None of them paid attention to the humans. Daniel realized that humanity was nothing special here. They were just another species among many. The council chamber was a circular room with seats arranged in rising levels like an ancient Roman arena. 47 different alien species sat in those seats. At the center of the room stood a raised platform. Vexor led the humans to that platform. A massive crystalline being rose from the highest seat. Its body was made of clear material that reflected light in rainbow colors. When it spoke, its voice filled the entire chamber. "I am High Arbiter Zelkoth, leader of the Galactic Council. You are humans from the planet you call Earth. Your species has developed faster than light travel and entered known space. This means you must now follow the laws of the Council." Linda stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you and the Council. Humanity wishes to establish peaceful relations with all species." "Peaceful relations require payment," Zelkoth said. the crystalline being pointed one of its sharp appendages at Linda. All species in known space must pay tribute to the Council. This tribute ensures protection from hostile forces and access to trade routes across the galaxy. "What kind of tribute?" Linda asked. Another alien stood up. This one looked like a large bear covered in blue scales. "Every species must give 30% of all resources they produce. This includes minerals, energy, food, and manufactured goods. You must also provide 20% of your military fleet to serve under Council command. Finally, you must follow all Council laws without question." Daniel felt anger rise in his chest. They wanted humanity to give up almost a third of everything they produced and a fifth of their ships. That would cripple Earth and the colonies. Many people would starve. The military would become too weak to defend their own space. Linda kept her face calm. "This is a significant request. We need time to discuss this with our government on Earth." Zelkoth's body flashed with red light. "You have 30 of your Earth days to decide. If you refuse, your species will be declared rogue. All human ships will be banned from Council space. Your star systems will be blockaded. You will be cut off from the rest of the galaxy." The meeting ended. The humans were escorted back to their ship and given coordinates for a safe route back to Earth. The journey home took 5 days. During that time, Daniel, Linda, and Kevin discussed what they had seen. "They treat us like we are children," Kevin said. "Like we should be grateful they even allow us to exist in their space." Linda shook her head. "They have been in space for thousands of years. To them, we are children. But that does not mean we should submit to their demands." When they reached Earth, Linda went straight to meet President Richard Hayes. The president called an emergency meeting with the United Earth Defense Council. Every major leader and military commander attended either in person or through hologram. Linda presented the council's demands. The room erupted in angry shouts. Commander Gregory Patterson, the highest-ranking military officer in the human fleet, slammed his fist on the table. "We did not fight our way off Earth and across the solar system just to become slaves to aliens," Gregory said. "If we agree to this, we will never be free again. They will own us." Dr. Susan Park, the chief science advisor, raised her hand. "I have been studying the data from the Liberty's Edge sensors. The alien technology is advanced, yes. But it is old. Their ships show designs that have not changed in centuries. They have become comfortable with their power. They stopped innovating." "What are you saying?" President Hayes asked. Susan smiled. "I am saying that humans are still learning, still adapting, still building new things. Our technology is younger, but we improve it every year. In a fight, that might give us an advantage they do not expect." President Hayes looked around the room. "We need to vote. Do we submit to the Council, or do we stand on our own?" The vote was unanimous. Humanity would refuse. Linda returned to the Council station with the answer. She stood before the 47 species and spoke in a clear, strong voice. "Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for their offer, but we must decline. We will not pay tribute. We will not surrender our sovereignty. We will not follow laws we had no part in creating. We came to the stars as free people, and we will remain free." The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Zelkoth's body turned bright red. "Then you are declared rogue," the High Arbiter said. "From this moment, humanity is an enemy of the Council. You will be blockaded. You will be isolated, and if you resist, you will be destroyed." Linda did not flinch. "Then we will resist." The war had begun. The blockade began within hours of Linda's declaration. Council warships appeared at the edge of every human star system. They did not attack, but they sent a clear message. No human ship would be allowed to leave. No trade would be permitted. Humanity was alone. On Earth, Commander Gregory Patterson stood in the war room deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Around him, Holographic displays showed all 12 human colonies and the enemy ships surrounding them. His senior officers waited for orders. "They think we will panic," Gregory said. "They think we will beg them to lift the blockade. They are wrong." He pressed a button on his command console. Across human space, hidden weapons platforms came online. They had been built in secret over the past 5 years, disguised as mining equipment or research stations. Every colony had them, floating in asteroid belts and hidden in planetary rings. The Council had no idea they existed. "All defensive systems are active, sir," reported Captain Lisa Morgan. She commanded the defense fleet at New Dallas, one of humanity's largest colonies. "The Vorathian ships have not detected our weapons yet." Gregory nodded. "Good. Let them make the first move. We will be ready." The Vorathians did not make humanity wait long. Commander Vexer, the same alien who had greeted the Liberty's Edge, led a fleet of 30 warships to New Dallas. He sent a transmission to the colony's government. "You have 1 hour to surrender. Lower your shields. Allow our troops to land. Accept Council authority. If you refuse, we will take your colony by force." Lisa watched the enemy ships from her flagship, the Defender's Pride. She had 22 ships under her command. The Vorathians had 30, and each of their vessels was larger than anything humanity had built. By all normal calculations, this fight was already lost. But Lisa was not worried. She had studied the sensor data from the Liberty's Edge encounter. The Vorathian shields were designed to deflect energy weapons like lasers and plasma cannons. That made sense because most Council species used energy weapons. They had used them for so long that their defenses were built specifically against them. Humanity used railguns, solid metal projectiles accelerated to a fraction of light speed. The technology was old by Earth standards, based on principles from the 20th century. But humans had perfected it over decades of experimentation and warfare. The hour passed. Lisa did not surrender. Instead, she gave a single order. "All ships fire on my mark. Target their lead vessels. 3, 2, 1, mark." 22 human warships opened fire at once. Railgun slugs tore through space at incredible speeds. The Vorathian shields flickered and tried to deflect the incoming rounds. But the shields were made to bend energy, not stop solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The first slug hit Vexer's flagship dead center. The projectile punched through the shield like it was not even there. It continued through the hull, through multiple decks, and out the other side. Atmosphere vented into space. Secondary explosions rippled along the ship's length. Vexer could not believe what he was seeing. His shield should have stopped any weapon. The humans were primitives, barely capable of space travel. How were they hurting his fleet? More slugs hammered into the Vorathian ships. 3 vessels exploded completely. 5 more were crippled and drifting. The Vorathian formation fell apart as commanders tried to figure out what was happening. Then the hidden weapons platforms opened fire. 50 automated railgun batteries emerged from the asteroid field and began shooting. The Vorathians were caught between Lisa's fleet and the fixed defenses. Ships tried to retreat, but human vessels were faster and more maneuverable. The battle lasted only 40 minutes. When it was over, 15 Vorathian ships were destroyed. 8 more were damaged so badly they could barely move. Only 7 ships escaped, and they were running for their lives. Lisa lost 3 ships and had 4 more damaged. She considered it a victory. The crew of the Defender's Pride cheered as they watched the enemy retreat. Vexer managed to get his damaged flagship back to Council space. He went directly to the Council chamber and made his report. The 47 species listened in silence as he described the battle. "Their weapons are primitive but effective," Vexer said. His pride was wounded, but he spoke honestly. "Our shields cannot stop solid projectiles at those speeds. We were not prepared for this kind of attack." High Arbiter Zelkoth's crystalline body pulsed with angry red light. "Impossible. No species has ever defeated a Council fleet in their first engagement." You must have made tactical errors. I followed standard protocol, Vexor insisted. The humans simply fight differently than any species we have encountered. The large bear-like alien with blue scales stood up. Then we must send a stronger force. The Krillian Armada has never lost a war. Send them to deal with the humans. The council voted. The decision was unanimous. The Krillians would be sent to make an example of humanity. They would attack Mars, humanity's second most important world. The message would be clear. Defy the council and watch your people die. Back on Earth, President Hayes met with his advisors to review the victory at New Dallas. Dr. Susan Park had important news. We captured one of the damaged Varathian ships, she said. My team has been studying their technology. I was right about them being complacent. Their weapons, shields, and engines have barely changed in thousands of years. They found designs that worked and stopped improving them. What does that mean for us? The president asked. It means we have an advantage. Humans never stop trying to build better weapons, faster ships, stronger armor. We improve our technology every single year. If we can stay ahead of their adaptation curve, we can win this war. Commander Gregory Patterson looked at the star maps. The question is where they will hit us next. They lost face at New Dallas. They will want revenge. His prediction was correct. 2 weeks later, long-range sensors detected a massive fleet entering human space. 300 warships, all bearing the mark of the Krillian Armada. They bypassed Earth completely and headed straight for Mars. Admiral Karen Torres commanded the Mars Defense Fleet. She was a veteran of the colony wars, a brutal conflict between Earth and the outer settlements 20 years ago. That war had taught her many lessons about fighting against superior numbers. She had 47 ships to defend Mars against 300. The odds were ridiculous. Most commanders would have retreated. Karen did not retreat. Instead, she studied history. The Krillian fleet was led by War Master Throck, a massive creature that looked like a cross between a crocodile and a tank. He had personally commanded 40 successful invasions. He had never been defeated. He expected the humans to either flee or surrender. He got neither. As his fleet approached Mars, the human ships pulled back toward the planet's 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos. Throck smiled with his rows of sharp teeth. The humans were using the moons for cover. It was a predictable tactic. Divide the fleet, Throck ordered. Group Alpha will take Phobos. Group Beta will take Deimos. Group Gamma will assault Mars directly. These primitives will learn what happens when they challenge the Krillian Armada. The fleet split into 3 groups as ordered. Group Alpha, consisting of 100 ships, moved toward Phobos. As they approached the small moon, they detected the human vessels hiding on the far side. What they did not detect were the mines. Thousands of small explosive devices, each invisible to Krillian sensors, floated in a carefully planned pattern. When the first Krillian ships entered the field, the mines activated. Explosions tore through Group Alpha. Ships collided with each other trying to escape the minefield. In the chaos, Karen's ships emerged from behind Phobos and opened fire with railguns. The Krillian shields could not stop the solid projectiles any better than the Varathian shields had. Group Beta ran into a different problem at Deimos. As they closed in on the moon, what they thought were human warships suddenly broke apart. They were not ships at all, but drone carriers. Each carrier released hundreds of small attack drones. The drones swarmed the Krillian vessels, targeting engines and weapon systems. Group Gamma faced the worst surprise. As they descended toward Mars, orbital defense platforms opened fire. Not just a few platforms, but dozens of them, hidden under the planet's red dust and revealed only when they started shooting. The Krillians found themselves in a crossfire between the surface batteries and the human fleet that had circled around from the moons. The battle for Mars lasted 2 weeks. It was brutal and bloody. Krillian troops landed on the surface and tried to capture the major cities. Colonel Brandon Wells led the ground defense. He used the deep canyons and cave systems of Mars to set ambushes and traps. Krillian soldiers, trained for open warfare, struggled in the tight underground passages. In space, the fighting was even more intense. Karen Torres used every trick she had learned in the colony wars. She pretended to retreat, drawing Krillian ships into kill zones. She used the planet's thin atmosphere to hide her ships from sensors. She sent false signals to confuse enemy communications. War Master Throck grew more frustrated each day. His fleet should have crushed these humans in hours. Instead, he was losing ships at an alarming rate. His ground troops sent reports of heavy casualties and no progress. The humans fought like cornered animals, with desperation and cunning. After 2 weeks of fighting, Throck admitted the truth. He could not win this battle without losing his entire fleet. He ordered a retreat. The Krillian Armada, undefeated for 300 years, withdrew from Mars in defeat. The cost had been high. Throck lost 112 ships and thousands of soldiers. Karen lost 18 ships, and the surface of Mars was scarred by battle. But humanity had won again. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. The mighty Krillian Armada defeated by primitive humans. Species that had been paying tribute to the Council for centuries began to whisper. If humans could resist, maybe others could too. In the Council chamber, High Arbiter Zelkoth faced an uncomfortable truth. Humanity was not going to surrender. And worse, their defiance was giving other species dangerous ideas. The Council chamber was in chaos. High Arbiter Zelkoth called for order, but the 47 species were shouting at each other in dozens of languages. The translation systems could barely keep up. 2 defeats in a row had shaken the foundations of galactic power. "We must launch a full invasion," demanded the blue-scaled bear alien. "Every species contributes ships. We overwhelm the humans with numbers they cannot possibly match." A floating orb of light pulsed with disagreement. "That will cost thousands of ships and millions of lives. For what? To force one small species to pay tribute? Is our pride worth that much blood?" "It is not about pride," Zelkoth said, its crystalline body flashing red. "It is about order. If humanity refuses to pay tribute and faces no consequences, other species will refuse as well. The entire council system will collapse." The floating orb dimmed. Perhaps the system should collapse. Silence fell over the chamber. No one had ever spoken against the council so directly before. Zelkoth turned its full attention to the orb. "You are Talarian. Your species has been part of the council for 2,000 years. Do you now question our laws?" "I question laws that take 30% of everything we produce," the orb said. "I question giving 20% of our ships to fight wars we do not believe in. I question following orders from leaders who do not ask what we think. Yes, Arbiter, I question the system." 3 other species indicated agreement. Zelkoth realized the situation was worse than it thought. Humanity's defiance was spreading like a disease. The vote for full invasion passed, but 6 species abstained, and the Talarian Union voted against it. That had never happened before. On Earth, Ambassador Nicole Fisher replaced Linda Morrison, who was promoted to Secretary of Defense. Nicole was younger, but equally skilled at diplomacy. She had a new assignment that would require all her skills. Commander Gregory Patterson called her to his office in the war room. "We intercepted council communications. 6 species abstained from voting for the invasion. 1 voted against it. That is significant." "The Talarian Union voted no," Nicole said, reading the intelligence report. "They are one of the oldest council members. If they are having doubts, others must be too. That is why I want you to make contact with them, quietly. See if they are willing to talk." Nicole took a small, fast ship and traveled to Talarian space. The Talarians were beings of pure energy who lived inside protective shells. They communicated through light pulses and vibrations. Nicole spent 3 days learning their language before meeting their leader, Prime Luminary Kez. They met on a neutral station at the edge of Talarian territory. Kez floated in a containment field while Nicole sat in a chair designed for humans. Between them was a translation device that converted light pulses to words. "Ambassador Fisher, you take a great risk coming here," Kez said. "If the Council knew we were meeting, both our species would face punishment." "I believe the risk is worth it," Nicole replied. "Your species voted against the invasion. That took courage." Kez's light pulsed with what the translator indicated was sadness. "It took desperation. For 2,000 years, we have paid tribute to the Council. 30% of our energy production goes to them. Our civilization could have reached heights we can only dream of with those resources. Instead, we remain stagnant while the Council leadership grows fat and powerful. Then help us change the system." "How?" "You have fought well, but you cannot defeat the combined might of 40 Council species." Nicole leaned forward. "We do not have to defeat them all. We just need to convince enough species that there is a better way. Freedom instead of tribute. Cooperation instead of domination. If enough species stand together, the Council cannot stop us all." Kez dimmed, thinking. "You are asking us to risk everything. If we fail, the Council will crush us. If you do nothing, you will stay under Council control forever. At least this way you have a chance at freedom." The Talarian agreed to secret talks. Over the next month, Nicole met with representatives from 5 other species who were unhappy with Council rule. They were careful, meeting in hidden locations and using encrypted communications. Slowly, an alliance began to form. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists made a breakthrough. Engineer Eric Sanders led a team that successfully captured and studied a Krillian ship that had been crippled during the Mars battle. The ship contained intact, faster-than-light engines. Eric was a genius with mechanical systems. He had designed many of the weapons platforms that defended human colonies. Now he faced his greatest challenge, understanding alien technology that was thousands of years more advanced than human engineering. He worked for 3 weeks straight, barely sleeping. His team took apart the Krillian engine piece by piece, studying how it worked. The design was elegant, but like all Council technology, it had not changed in centuries. Eric saw ways to improve it. "The Council species discovered FTL travel and stopped innovating," he explained to Dr. Susan Park. "They found one method that worked and stuck with it. But there are other approaches, different theories we can test." It took 2 months of trial and error, dozens of failed experiments, and one explosion that nearly killed Eric's entire team. But finally, they did it. A human ship equipped with the modified engine traveled twice as fast as any Council vessel. Commander Gregory Patterson immediately saw the military advantage. "If our ships can move faster, we can strike anywhere in Council space and retreat before they can respond. We become impossible to pin down." He assigned Captain Alex Grant to lead the first deep strike mission. Alex was young, but he had distinguished himself during the Mars defense. He took 5 ships equipped with the new engines and traveled deep into Council territory. Their target was a tribute collection facility in the Zephron system. Every month, dozens of species brought their required resources to this facility. From there, the tribute was distributed to Council worlds. The facility was lightly defended because no one had ever dared attack it. Alex's ships appeared out of FTL right on top of the facility. The surprised guards tried to raise shields, but human railguns were already firing. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. The facility was crippled, and its databases were captured. But Alex found something unexpected at the facility. Thousands of people from various species were being held in cells. They were slaves, taken as part of the tribute system. Some had been there for decades. "We cannot leave them," Alex said to his crew. "Load them on our ships. All of them." They freed every slave in the facility and took the database computers. Then they jumped back to human space before Council reinforcements could arrive. The entire operation took less than 2 hours. The database was a treasure. It contained detailed records of tribute payments, council communications, and financial transactions going back centuries. Eric's team analyzed the data and discovered shocking corruption. The council leadership had been stealing from the tribute system for generations. Resources that were supposed to be used for mutual defense and infrastructure were instead being hoarded by the High Arbiters and their chosen species. The ordinary members of the council were being cheated just like the smaller species. Ambassador Nicole Fisher saw the opportunity immediately. She met with the Secret Alliance and showed them the proof of council corruption. The representatives were outraged. "We have been starving our people to pay tribute," said a representative from the Morden species, a race of insect-like beings. "We were told the resources were needed for defense and public works. Instead, the Arbiters were using them to build palaces and private fleets." "This evidence needs to be public," Nicole said. "Every species in the galaxy needs to see what the Council has been doing." But broadcasting the information would be difficult. The Council controlled most communication networks. Any transmission could be blocked or jammed. They needed a way to send the data everywhere at once, too fast for the Council to stop it. Eric Sanders had an idea. "The Council uses a network of communication relays throughout the galaxy. If we can hack into the central hub, we can broadcast to every relay simultaneously. They would have to shut down the entire network to stop it, and that would take hours." It was risky. The central communication hub was located at the Council Station, the same place where humanity had first met the Galactic Council. It was heavily defended and deep in Council space. Captain Alex Grant volunteered to lead the mission. His ships were the fastest humanity had. If anyone could get in and out alive, it was him. The mission took careful planning. They would need to bypass security, infiltrate the communication hub, upload the data, and escape before the Council could respond. Alex assembled a team of the best hackers and soldiers humanity had. They arrived at the Council Station using false identification codes stolen from the database. Alex's ships pretended to be a Talarian cargo convoy bringing tribute. The station security let them dock without question. Alex and his team, wearing stolen Talarian containment suits, made their way to the communication hub. Two human hackers, Kyle Davis and Rachel Stone, went to work on the central computer while the soldiers stood guard. "We have maybe 10 minutes before someone notices what we are doing," Kyle said, his fingers moving fast across the holographic keyboard. Rachel worked on a second terminal, uploading the database files. "The files are huge. This is going to take time." They got lucky. The system was old and the security had not been updated in decades. The Council was so confident in their power that they never imagined anyone would dare attack the communication hub. 8 minutes later, Rachel finished the upload. "Files are in the system. Broadcasting now to all relays." Across the galaxy, billions of beings received the transmission. It could not be blocked or stopped. Every species saw the evidence of Council corruption displayed in clear detail. The proof was undeniable. Alarms started blaring in the Council Station. Alex and his team ran back to their ships, fighting through security forces. They lost 2 soldiers in the escape, but the rest made it to the ships. They jumped to FTL seconds before the station's weapons could destroy them. The galaxy erupted. Protests began on dozens of Council worlds. Species demanded answers from their leaders. The Talarian Union formally announced it was leaving the Council and signing a mutual defense pact with humanity. Within a week, 6 more species joined what was now called the Free Systems Alliance. The galaxy was no longer united under Council rule. A new power had emerged, built on freedom and cooperation rather than tribute and domination. High Arbiter Zelkoth stood in the Council chamber and watched its empire crumbling. The 47 species were now 39. 8 had left to join the humans. Others were considering it. "We must crush this rebellion before it spreads further," Zelkoth declared. "We will assemble every ship, every soldier. We will strike at Earth itself and end this once and for all." The vote passed. The Council would gather the largest armada in galactic history. 2,000 warships from 20 species would attack Earth. The Free Systems Alliance would be destroyed and order would be restored. The final battle was coming. The warning came from Talarian scouts 3 weeks before the Council armada was ready to launch. Prime Luminary Kez sent an urgent message to Earth. 2,000 warships were gathering at the Council's main military base. Their target was obvious. Fleet Admiral Gregory Patterson had been promoted after the Mars victory. He now commanded all human military forces and coordinated defense with the Free Systems Alliance. He stood in the war room, looking at the holographic display of enemy forces. 2,000 ships, he said quietly. We can muster maybe 800 between humanity and our allies. The numbers are not in our favor. Commander Daniel Cross, now promoted to Admiral after his successful exploration missions, studied the star charts. We cannot meet them in open space. They will surround us and destroy us through sheer numbers. Then we bring them to us, Gregory said. We make them fight on our terms, in our territory. Earth's solar system becomes the battlefield. The plan was dangerous. If they lost, Earth itself would be vulnerable to invasion. But Gregory had studied every major battle in human history, from ancient Rome to the colony wars. He knew that a smaller force with good defensive positions could defeat a larger army, especially if the larger army was overconfident. Over the next 3 weeks, the entire solar system was turned into a massive trap. Engineer Eric Sanders worked around the clock installing weapons platforms on asteroids, moons, and floating stations. Some platforms were visible, meant to draw enemy attention. Others were hidden, waiting to surprise the Council fleet. Captain Michelle Rogers commanded a squadron of fast attack ships whose job was to hit the Council's supply line. Even the biggest fleet needs fuel, ammunition, and food, she explained to her pilots. We cut those off and the fleet becomes weaker every day they stay in our system. Dr. Susan Park developed new types of mines that could evade Council sensors. Thousands of them were deployed throughout the solar system, forming invisible barriers that would destroy any ship that passed through them. Ambassador Nicole Fisher continued her diplomatic work. She convinced 3 more species to join the Free Systems Alliance. They could not send ships in time for the battle, but they provided intelligence about Council tactics and weak points in enemy ship designs. On the Council side, High Arbiter Zelkoth personally took command of the Armada. It was unusual for an Arbiter to lead military forces, but Zelkoth wanted to ensure humanity was completely destroyed. The Crystalline being addressed the fleet from its command ship. We go to end a rebellion that threatens everything the Council has built over 10,000 years. The humans and their allies must learn that defiance has consequences. We will destroy their fleet, occupy their worlds, and scatter their people across the galaxy as slaves. No mercy, no surrender, total victory. The 20 species under Council command cheered in their various languages. They were confident. 2,000 ships against 800 seemed like easy odds. The humans had been lucky before, but luck always ran out. The Council Armada entered human space from multiple directions, planning to converge on Earth from all sides. Admiral Gregory Patterson watched their approach on his displays. The enemy was following standard Council tactics, which he had studied extensively. They are dividing their forces to surround us, Daniel observed. It is what the textbooks teach. That is the problem with textbooks, Gregory said. They make you predictable. Begin Phase 1. The human fleet started to retreat toward Earth, apparently fleeing from the superior Council forces. The Council commanders smiled. The humans were running scared. Victory would be quick. But as the Council ships pursued, they began entering the minefields. Explosions rippled through their formations. Ships collided, trying to avoid the mines. The careful attack pattern dissolved into chaos. Captain Michelle Rogers and her squadron struck at that moment. They hit the Council's rear supply ships with devastating railgun fire. 3 supply vessels were destroyed in the first attack. 5 more were crippled. The Council fleet suddenly found itself running low on ammunition and fuel much faster than planned. Still, the Council pressed forward. They had overwhelming numbers. Some losses were acceptable. The Armada continued toward Earth, though more carefully now, scanning for more mines. They entered the orbit of Mars. From the surface and the 2 moons, orbital defense platforms opened fire. These were not the same platforms from the previous battle. Eric Sanders had upgraded them with the new FTL technology, allowing them to target multiple ships simultaneously with incredible accuracy. The Council fleet had to split its attention between the advancing human fleet and the platforms behind them. Ships trying to destroy the platforms were hit by the human fleet. Ships focusing on the human fleet were destroyed by the platforms. War Master Throck, commanding one of the Council battle groups, recognized what was happening. "They are herding us, like animals into a pen. All ships, break formation and scatter." But it was too late. The Council fleet was now spread throughout the inner solar system, exactly where Gregory wanted them. Asteroids that had seemed like natural obstacles suddenly activated weapons systems. Space stations that looked abandoned came alive with missiles and railguns. The Council realized they were not fighting a fleet in open space. They were fighting an entire solar system that had been weaponized. High Arbiter Zelkoth watched the battle from its command ship and felt something it had not experienced in centuries: doubt. The humans were not fighting like any species the Council had encountered. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris was potentially a weapon or a trap. "Forward momentum is lost," reported Zelkoth's tactical officer, a member of the insect-like Morden species. "Fleet cohesion is breaking down. We have lost 300 ships, and we have not even reached Earth yet. 300 ships in just 2 days of fighting. The losses were staggering, but Zelkoth had committed to total victory. Retreat now would mean admitting the humans had beaten them. All ships continue the attack. We still have numerical superiority." Admiral Gregory Patterson saw the Council fleet pressing forward despite their losses. He initiated Phase 2. The human fleet stopped retreating and turned to face the enemy. But they did not charge forward in a straight line. Instead, they moved in small groups, using the asteroids and planets as cover, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Captain Lisa Morgan led one such group. She took her squadron into the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Council ships followed, trying to corner her. But the asteroids provided cover and confusion. Lisa's ships knew the belt well. They had practiced here for months. The Council ships were navigating it for the first time. Lisa led the enemy deeper into the belt, then her ships suddenly accelerated and scattered in different directions. The pursuing Council vessels tried to follow, but found themselves surrounded by more human ships that had been hiding among the asteroids. It was an ambush. Half the Council ships were destroyed before they could retreat. Similar ambushes happened throughout the solar system. The Council's numerical advantage meant nothing when they could not bring their full force to bear in the tight, cluttered environment near Earth. President Richard Hayes broadcast a message to all Council species, not to their military commanders, but to the soldiers and crews. The message was simple. "You are fighting and dying for leaders who have been lying to you for centuries. They told you the tribute was for mutual benefit. The truth is, they have been stealing from you. We have proof. We released it to your worlds. Ask yourself, why are you here? What are you really fighting for?" The message had an effect. Some Council ships began to slow their advance, their crews questioning their orders. Others continued fighting, but with less enthusiasm. Doubt spread through the Council ranks like poison. On the 5th day of battle, something unprecedented happened. A group of 15 ships from the Morden species suddenly changed sides. They broadcast a message declaring they were joining the Free Systems Alliance and would no longer fight for corrupt council leaders. The defection shocked both sides. War Master Throck tried to destroy the defecting ships, but human forces protected them. More ships began to question whether they were on the right side. High Arbiter Zelkoth saw its armada falling apart. They had lost over 600 ships. Morale was collapsing, defections were increasing, and they still had not reached Earth. The Crystalline being made a decision. It would lead the remaining fleet in a direct assault on Earth. If they could destroy the human homeworld, the rebellion would end regardless of losses. "All remaining ships form up on my position," Zelkoth commanded. "We go straight for Earth, maximum speed. Ignore everything else." About 1,000 council ships gathered around Zelkoth's command vessel. They began a desperate charge toward Earth, abandoning all tactics in favor of raw speed and power. Admiral Gregory Patterson watched the enemy fleet coming. This was the moment he had prepared for, the final phase of his plan. "All human ships, fall back to Earth," he ordered. "Let them come." The Council fleet raced toward Earth, thinking victory was finally in reach. They did not know about the final trap waiting for them. Between Earth and Mars floated what appeared to be a small moon. It had been there for years, unremarkable and ignored. In reality, it was humanity's secret weapon, a massive kinetic kill platform built into a hollowed-out asteroid. It had been constructed over 5 years in complete secrecy. As the Council fleet passed the asteroid, it activated. Hundreds of railgun batteries opened fire simultaneously, launching thousands of metal slugs at incredible speeds. The Council ships, packed tightly together for their charge, could not evade. The destruction was catastrophic. Ships exploded by the dozens. Zelkoth's command vessel was hit multiple times. Its shields failed, and the crystalline being was thrown across its bridge. Emergency systems activated, but the ship was dying. The Council charge broke. Ships scattered in all directions, trying to escape the kill zone. Human vessels pursued, picking off stragglers. Captain Alex Grant led a squadron that targeted the Council command ship. "This is Captain Grant to the Council command vessel. Your ship is crippled and you are surrounded. Surrender now and your crew will be spared." For a long moment there was no response. Then High Arbiter Zelkoth's voice came through the communication system, weak and filled with pain. "The Council does not surrender." The command ship exploded, taking Zelkoth and everyone aboard with it. With the death of the High Arbiter, the Council fleet completely fell apart. Some ships retreated, others surrendered. A few switched sides and joined the Free Systems Alliance. The battle was over. The largest armada in galactic history had been defeated by a smaller force fighting for freedom. The cost had been high for both sides. Thousands of ships destroyed, millions of lives lost, but humanity and its allies had won. In the aftermath, Admiral Gregory Patterson stood on Earth and looked up at the stars. The war was not completely over. Some Council species would continue to resist, but the tide had turned. Freedom had proven stronger than oppression. The news of High Arbiter Zelkoth's death spread across the galaxy within hours. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had ruled without serious challenge. Now, its greatest fleet lay in ruins around Earth, and its supreme leader was dead. The old order was collapsing. On the Council station, the remaining species met in emergency session. Without Zelkoth, there was no clear leader. The species argued among themselves, each trying to gain advantage from the chaos. Some wanted to continue the war, others wanted peace. A few simply wanted to go home and protect their own worlds. The Varathian commander Vexer, who had survived both the New Dallas and Earth battles, stood before the assembly. His red metallic body was scarred from combat. When he spoke, there was no arrogance left in his voice. "We have lost this war, not because the humans had better weapons or more ships. We lost because they believed in what they were fighting for. Our soldiers fought because they were ordered to. Their soldiers fought because they chose freedom over slavery. The blue-scaled bear alien roared in anger. We are not defeated. We still have ships and weapons. We can rebuild the fleet and attack again. With what? Vexor demanded. Half our species have stopped paying tribute. Our treasury is empty. Our soldiers are demoralized. And even if we could rebuild the fleet, would you want to lead the attack? Because I will not. I have fought the humans twice and barely survived both times. The argument continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. Should the council continue the war or seek peace? The result was 22 species for peace, 12 for war, and 5 abstaining. The council war was over. Ambassador Nicole Fisher received the council's request for peace negotiations. She discussed it with President Richard Hayes and the leaders of the Free Systems Alliance. They want to negotiate from a position of strength, Nicole said. They still think they can dictate terms. President Hayes shook his head. They can think whatever they want. We dictate the terms now, but we should be fair. Our goal was never to destroy the council, just to end the tribute system. The peace conference was held on a neutral station provided by the Talarian Union. Representatives from 34 species attended, 22 from the remaining council members, 8 from the Free Systems Alliance, and 4 neutral species who wanted to see what kind of galaxy would emerge. Nicole led the human delegation. Across the table sat the new council representative, a floating sphere of liquid metal named Coordinator Thex. The coordinator was supposed to be a temporary leader until the council could elect a new high arbiter. We are prepared to reduce the tribute rate, Thex said, its voice echoing from the sphere. 20% instead of 30%, and only 10% of military forces instead of 20%. Nicole smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You misunderstand the situation. We are not here to negotiate tribute rates. We are here to end the tribute system completely. The council representatives erupted in protest. Thex raised a metallic appendage for silence. Without tribute, the council cannot function. There would be no central authority, no shared defense, no trade coordination. That is correct, Nicole agreed. The council as you knew it is finished. But we can build something better. An alliance where each species contributes voluntarily, where decisions are made democratically, where no one species has the power to oppress others. Chaos? Thex said flatly. You describe chaos. We describe freedom, Prime Luminary Kez said, the Talarian's light pulsing strongly. And we have seen what freedom can accomplish. The humans, the youngest species in the galaxy, defeated your ancient empire because they were free to innovate, free to question, free to fight for something they believed in. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. Slowly, grudgingly, the council representatives accepted reality. The old system was gone. The question now was, what would replace it? The final agreement created the Assembly of Free Worlds. Every species had one vote, regardless of size or power. There would be no tribute. Instead, each species would contribute to shared projects and defense on a voluntary basis, with all contributions tracked publicly to prevent the corruption that had plagued the council. Trade would be open to all species. No one could be blocked from trade routes or charged excessive fees. Military cooperation would be voluntary. Species could form defense pacts, but no one could be forced to fight in wars they did not support. War crimes committed by the old council would be investigated. Leaders who had profited from corruption would be held accountable. The evidence that Captain Alex Grant had captured from the tribute facility would be used to identify and prosecute the worst offenders. Not all council species agreed to join the assembly. 5 species refused and withdrew to their own territories, determined to maintain the old ways in their own space. The assembly let them go. Freedom included the freedom to be wrong. 73 species signed the Charter of Free Worlds on the day the assembly was officially created. It was the largest gathering of alien species in galactic history, brought together not by force, but by choice. Admiral Gregory Patterson attended the ceremony in dress uniform. He stood with other human and allied military leaders, watching as representatives signed the charter. Captain Lisa Morgan stood next to him. "Do you think it will last?" she asked quietly. "Nothing lasts forever," Gregory replied, "but it is better than what came before. And if it fails, at least we tried." The ceremony concluded with speeches from various species leaders. When it was humanity's turn, President Richard Hayes stepped forward. He was an old man now, his hair white and his face lined with the stress of leading Earth through its greatest crisis. But his voice was strong. 50 years ago, humans first left Earth and reached for the stars. We dreamed of finding other intelligent life, of joining a galactic community. When we finally made contact, we were told to submit or be destroyed. Today, we stand not as subjects, but as equals. Not because we are the strongest or the smartest, but because we refuse to accept that freedom was negotiable. He paused and looked at the assembled species. The galaxy is ancient, and we are young. We have much to learn from all of you. But we also have something to teach. The lesson that no being, no matter how powerful, has the right to rule over another without consent. That is the principle this assembly is built on. May it guide us all into a better future. The representatives applauded in their various ways. Some clapped with hands or tentacles. Others made sounds or flashed lights. The Talarians pulsed in a pattern that meant respect and agreement. After the ceremony, Nicole Fisher found Daniel Cross, now Admiral Cross, looking out at the stars from an observation deck. "Thinking about what comes next?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "The assembly handles the political side, but there is still a whole galaxy out there we know almost nothing about. The council mapped maybe a quarter of known space. The rest is unexplored. Sounds like you want to get back to exploring. It is what I am good at. Fighting was necessary, but I always preferred discovery to combat." Nicole smiled. "Then go discover. The assembly will need scouts, explorers, people to make peaceful contact with species we have not met yet. Show them there is a better way than the council offered." 6 months later, Admiral Daniel Cross took command of a new exploration fleet. 10 ships from 5 different species, all volunteers who wanted to see what lay beyond known space. His old vessel, the Liberty's Edge, had been destroyed in the battle for Earth. His new flagship was called the Pioneer's Hope. They left the assembly territories and headed toward the galactic rim where no council ship had ever traveled. Their mission was to find new species and invite them to join the assembly, but only if they wanted to. No threats, no demands, just an offer of friendship and cooperation. Captain Alex Grant commanded one of the ships in Daniel's fleet. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, he thought about how much had changed. 3 years ago, humans were alone in the galaxy, desperate to find other intelligent life. Now they were partners with dozens of species, exploring the unknown together. Back on Earth, life was slowly returning to normal. Cities damaged in the war were being rebuilt. The economy was recovering. Children who had grown up during the war years were entering universities and learning skills that would help build the future. Engineer Eric Sanders opened a new research facility dedicated to advancing technology through cooperation between species. Human, Talarian, and Morden scientists worked side by side, sharing knowledge that had been kept secret under the old council system. The rate of innovation was extraordinary. Dr. Susan Park retired from government service, but continued teaching at the Mars Science Academy. She wrote a book about the war called The Price of Freedom, which became required reading for military academies across the assembly. In it, she argued that the greatest weapon was not technology or tactics, but the willingness to sacrifice for something you believed in. Admiral Gregory Patterson eventually retired as well. He was given a small house on the coast of California. where he could watch the ocean and remember the soldiers who had died defending Earth. He did not think of himself as a hero. Heroes, in his opinion, were the people who never came home. Ambassador Nicole Fisher became the first human Secretary General of the Assembly of Free Worlds. She worked tirelessly to keep the 73 species working together. It was not easy. Species had different needs, different cultures, different ideas about how things should be done. Arguments were common, but they were solved through debate and compromise, not war and domination. 5 years after the Battle of Earth, as it came to be known, a memorial was built in orbit around the planet. It was a massive structure made of metal and crystal, containing the names of every being who had died in the war from both sides. Human, Krillian, Vorathian, Mordan, Talarian, and others. All equal in death, all remembered. The memorial had an inscription that summed up the lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. Freedom is not given, it is taken by those brave enough to demand it. This memorial honors all who fought and died in the struggle between tyranny and liberty. May their sacrifice remind us that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, but the alternative is chains we make for ourselves. Captain Lisa Morgan, now a Rear Admiral, visited the memorial often. She had lost many friends in the war. Sometimes she wondered if it had been worth it. Then she would look down at Earth, free and thriving, and she knew the answer. On the frontier, Admiral Daniel Cross and his exploration fleet made first contact with a new species, the Valor. They were cautious, having heard rumors of the Great War that had reshaped the galaxy. Daniel met with their leaders and explained the assembly. "We do not demand tribute," he said. "We do not require submission. We offer friendship, trade, and mutual defense. If you join us, you keep your freedom and your sovereignty. You contribute what you can and receive what you need." The Valor leader, a being that looked like a living plant, considered this carefully. "And if we refuse, then we wish you well and hope to trade with you as friends. No threats, no punishment. The choice is always yours." The Valor joined the assembly, the 74th species to do so. Others would follow. Some would refuse, and that was acceptable. The galaxy was big enough for many different ways of life. 10 years after first contact with the Galactic Council, humanity celebrated a new holiday, Liberation Day. It marked the day the assembly was founded and the tribute system ended. Celebrations happened on Earth and throughout human colonies, as well as on dozens of allied worlds. President Richard Hayes had died the year before, peacefully in his sleep. His last words were reported to be, "We are free." A statue was erected in his honor at the United Earth headquarters, showing him not as a warrior but as a leader with his hand extended in friendship. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems, still species that clung to the old ways. But for the first time in 10,000 years, most of the galaxy lived under a system that valued freedom over power. And humanity, the young species that had defied an ancient empire, continued to explore, to learn, to grow. They had come to the stars seeking others. They had found them, and together, they had changed the galaxy forever. Far out on the rim, Admiral Daniel Cross stood on the bridge of the Pioneer's Hope and looked at the unknown stars ahead. Humanity's story in the galaxy had just begun. There would be more challenges, more discoveries, more conflicts. But whatever came, humanity would face it the same way they had faced the Council. Together and free. The end.